Hi everyone, Odd Author here, and I'm going to do a video today that I think kind of goes into a little bit of who I am and how I've gotten to where I am today, and kind of tells a little bit about me, I guess. Now, I was going to do this video where I talked about a bunch of different authors from the 90s that I liked in their vampire books or series. And I was literally halfway through that video and my phone wouldn't record anymore. So I'm going to kind of cut out that part and get to this little story that I have about me. And it's kind of inspirational, and I hope that it can help other people who, kind of feel down, feel like they can't achieve their dreams and get through what they need to do. And obviously we've all been there, I've been there, and this is kind of like my story about that. And I've only told this story a couple of times. Some people, very few people know it. Most people don't know it at all. And I definitely want to share it with you guys. So when I was in school, when I was in elementary school and most of middle school, I struggled a lot. A lot of it, not a lot of it, but some of it had to do, sorry, I'm breaking things. Some of it had to do with my personality, and some of it had to do with how I was raised. I was an only child. I was kind of sheltered a little bit, very introverted, didn't really get along with other kids my age. If I was in a room with kids my age and adults, I would be conversing with the adults. I would be more comfortable with the adults than the other kids in the room, and that's the way that I always was. So struggled a lot through school. When I was in elementary school, I kind of always just got by on the skin of my teeth, and kind of the same thing through middle school. I only had a few friends. A lot of kids I got made fun of on almost a daily basis. I was bullied a lot, and there's the whole bully thing is like, that's a whole story in itself, and that's something that I'll touch on in a later video, because I'm a huge advocate against bullying and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's pretty much how it was. Very introverted, very alone. I think I was depressed even as an elementary school, middle school student. I think I spent most of my life probably being depressed and kind of withdrawn from people. I like it more by myself, but that's part of my personality, just kind of being introverted. But I was very scared of people and of situations and confrontations. I was scared of everything. So, struggled through school a lot. I always had to have like the extra help classes, and instead of having, like, you would have study halls, but it'd be in a specific room where you got extra help, and you can go there and to take tests outside of your classroom and get extra help, that kind of stuff. So one of the things that my school, my district that I went to school in required from elementary school through, or from 4th grade through 8th grade, was that you had to read so many books every single year. And you had to take little tests on these books, and you had to pass those tests in order for that book that you read to count as one of the books that you had to read that year. And you could literally read any book that you wanted to that was in the library, but you had to read so many every year, and it kind of counted into your overall grade for the year. And even to this day, I still don't really know how I did it. I don't think I did most of the time. I was not a reader when I was a child. And so maybe the reading thing didn't really count in your grade, but I knew it had to be done. It's called an accelerated reader program. So, I'd always find books to try to read for it, and I like every book that I would pick up and try to read, I hated. I never found something that was of interest to me. I never really found that specific genre that spoke to me. So one day, and I was also behind in my reading level. Even in middle school, I was still at like an elementary school reading level, just because I didn't like to read it, and that held me back. And I think it's where a lot of my problems in school came from, just because without reading and having those reading skills, I think a lot of things, it was harder for me to comprehend a lot of things and understand, how certain things were maybe being laid out verbally, because I didn't read a lot, so I couldn't understand a lot of the stuff and maybe how it was supposed to be read and understood. And honestly, if you can't read, or you can't read well, it affects everything. So 8th grade, last year middle school, getting ready to head into high school next year, still kind of just like that sort of average, like below average student. And I'm looking for a book to read, and there was this specific section of the library. I think it was actually, I stayed away from it because it was a higher reading level section, because the middle school, high school library, the middle school library was divided by like reading levels. And so there was this level that I would always kind of just dismiss, but there was a lot of books in this area that just seemed to catch my attention. But because I was really shy and I was afraid of all this stuff, I was afraid to actually go to these books and walk out of the library with one of these books, because it seemed weird, and these books seemed weird, and maybe people would think I was weird, or, just some child fear like that. But one day I did it. I went into that section, and that section had a lot of vampire books. And I found this particular book, and this book literally changed my life. And I kind of like to be cheesy with it and say like vampires saved my life. But in all honesty, this book saved my life. This book is by Vivian van Velde, and this book is Companions of the Night. I got this book out, and I was like scared and excited all at the same time, and I started reading it, and it was above my reading level, but I'm like, oh my god, this book is amazing. I read it, I think, in like 2 days, and really from there, everything is history. I always wrote since I learned to write, but obviously being able to read helps with you being able to write and compose stories, and like kind of know how a story arch should be. And I read this book in like 2 or 3 days, and I went back to the library and I got another book. I think it's one I think it was Look for Me by Moonlight was the second book I got out of the library, and I read that in like 2 or 3 days. And then I started reading into Christopher Pike's Last Vampire series that my library had, and it literally like just took off from there. My reading level shot up. I got into high school, and I did better in school than I'd ever done, and I continued to read. I read constantly. I was reading a book every 2 to 3 days, and I was going back in and getting another library book. And I remember the middle school librarians just being like in shock that they were seeing me in the library every other day, when they had hardly ever saw me in the library before that. And I was just, it was amazing. I found this place, this fantasy place, where the story and, you know, the world in books, and like everything just got better. My writing got better, obviously my reading got better. I shot up over my reading level, like, or what kids are normally in that grade. And obviously the more I read, the more inspired I was to write, and I had always known that being an author was something that I wanted to do for a very, very long time, and it helped me. And honestly, if I never found this book, maybe I would have come across one of the other vampire books that I read after that. But the whole idea is that if I never wandered into that section and found this book, I don't know where I would be today. Would I be a published author? Maybe not. Maybe I would have never finished high school. Maybe I would have continued to struggle and just kind of been stuck in life and not going anywhere. I did some college, you know, maybe I never would have done that. And maybe I never would have opened up and become the person that I am today. Just because I probably would have remained that struggling, shy, locked away girl, and, you know, not doing stuff like this, like making YouTube videos and not being a published author. And I think my life would have been a lot different. And, you know, obviously I finished high school and I got my degree, and I did good in a lot of stuff, and I contribute all of that to this book. I really do, because this book, obviously the first vampire book that I picked up and ever read, I was always obsessed with vampires, don't get me wrong. My mother can attest to it. I mean, I was like 3, 4, 5, and I'm like all vampire everything. But this book, just, it got me into that world, and it, like, because of this book, I realized what kind of books that I like to read. I finally found that genre that fit for me, and I found all of these amazing stories, and, you know, because I discovered all these worlds, I was able to create my own, and I really can't describe it anymore. Like, this book is the best thing that ever happened to me, and I hope that a lot of you guys that are stuck and just don't know what to do, and you don't know where you're going, and I want, you know, the only thing I say is step outside your comfort zone. That's what I did. It sounds stupid, but I stepped out of my comfort zone when I picked up this book and checked it out of the library and went home and read it. And it was absolutely the best thing that I probably ever could have done for my life, for me. So step outside your comfort zone, you know, kind of figure out what are things that you want to do but you just never did because you held yourself back for one reason or another. You got to take a chance. You have to take a chance, and I did that. When I picked up this book, checked it out of the library, and honestly, like, I've never looked back, and I honestly, for real, I don't know where I would be today if I didn't find that book and discover my love of reading and my, you know, deepen my love of vampires and macabre things. And, you know, we all need that. That was kind of the step for me. And I took that step myself. I gave myself the courage. I told myself, I just gotta check it out and read it. Like, this book called to me. I had looked at it in the library before, but I realized, like, it was about vampires and what section it was in, and I was kind of intimidated. But one day I just went for it. I was like, why not? I could try to read it. If I don't like it, I could bring it back, you know. Absolutely. I mean, little blessings in life. Just little things. There's little things that keep you going and that help you get to where you want to be. And sometimes we have to find those things. Sometimes they're right in front of us. Sometimes they're not. So hopefully this has been kind of inspirational for you guys. you know, and like if you guys, yes, if you guys have little stories like that of your own, little inspirational things, like little things that you did that changed your life entirely, please, like, tell your little stories down in the description. I would love to read them and see like what kind of things that you guys have gone through and what you've done to get past that, and just the little miracles that, you know, we all come across in life every once in a while. So this book is my little miracle, and I will forever love this book. And I mean, I never stopped thinking about this book from that very first time that I picked it up and read that very first page. It has changed my life entirely, and I wanna hear your guys. I wanna be able to read your guys' stories, like your life changing stories. So go ahead and, you know, leave your comments or your stories down in the description, and maybe in my next video I'll touch on some of them if you guys don't mind me sharing. Obviously you can, like, you can put if you want me to talk about it or not, I guess, or maybe even like you could like personally message me too if you want to. You can message me on my Facebook, Kyra Von Wolfe, and I'll put a link down in the description for that. So, well, that was my inspirational story, and I hope that it like kind of inspires you guys, and I'd love to hear your stories. So, well, that's everything for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I have a couple of links for you guys to follow me on other social medias. And you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you in the next video.